Welcome, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Lynn Berger, host of Lynn Berger Interviews Remarkable People. And today I have the privilege of speaking with Todd Underwood, whose work is seen in film and on the stage all over the world. Thank you, Todd. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lynn.
I'm looking very forward to this conversation. So take me back to your earlier years. Did you know what you wanted to do?
No, not at all. This whole life sort of came through a lot of wonderful experiences. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer for a very, very long time. I thought that was my passion, my calling. I knew I wanted to be in corporate law. But then at 7 years old, I started taking the piano because my sister was taking the piano, and I didn't want to be stuck out with my mother in the car. So I started taking piano lessons at 7 years old, and it just sort of changed me and who I was. This idea of putting my hands on an instrument and be able to create music, sound, even dance in its own sort of way. I started lessons at 7. I got a classical teacher at 14. I also had a gospel teacher at 14. So my parents allowed me to sort of search and find the things that were passionate for me.
Nice.
Didn't start dancing until I was 14. It was someone came to our school and said, I'm opening up a performing arts center, and please come take classes. So I started to take classes there. She saw something in me and said, I think you need to further your arts education. She said, here's a school that I think would be great for you. It's a small school in Birmingham, Alabama, Birmingham Southern College. I went there, and the world sort of unfolded even more. I didn't really know theater at that point in time. I had seen, those movie musicals and loved those, and I knew who Ben Vereen was, but I really didn't know what theater was until I got to college. One of my best friends, David Sutherland, was a huge musical theater fan. They were having a show, auditioning for a show at the school called Pippin, and he said, you should come audition. I had seen it on PBS with the great Ben Vereen, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll be in the ensemble. But I got the part of the leading player. Shocked.
That's the best when it's not expected.
Yeah, not expected at all. That director, his name is Michael Flowers, was my mentor throughout college and said, you need to continue to do this. I was still a pre-law major at school because I just thought, I didn't know anyone who had done it before, right? I didn't know the road or the path to become a performer at all. So another door opened for me, and I started doing summer stock and graduated from college, and I moved to New York and got my first job 3 weeks later.
Wow.
So it just, think doors just kept opening for me.
Let's go back for a minute. How was it to give up this law track that you had since a child?
It was not hard at all. I mean, your parents talk about these occupations, and you see things on TV and thought, oh, that looks cool. And so you just sort of say, I can do that. I can stand up in front of people and talk.
In different ways
now. In different ways. So now that has now translated into something totally different. So the idea of what a lawyer is sort of the same idea of what an actor is.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't hard at all.
Okay. Were people surprised when you told them?
No. I mean, I think I had an incredible community who supported me tremendously, saw that my talent was something special, and they wanted to make sure that, I had every opportunity that I could. When I was a kid, I was in the local boys choir.
Okay.
which was amazing.
So you were getting there.
I was getting there,
Getting
but
it.
I didn't know where I was
Oh,
going to
that's
end up.
great.
I did not know where I was going to end up.
But you went with it when it started to happen.
I did. It felt like a pull. And it just kept pulling and kept pulling.
That's nice.
And kept pulling and kept pulling.
So you got your job very quickly. Tell
Yeah.
us about your first job.
My first job was an international tour of a show called Blackbirds of Broadway, which celebrated the Harlem Renaissance and the music and time of the Harlem Renaissance. I was in Europe for a year. Never been outside of the United States in my entire life. We landed in Germany for our first stop. Only thing I knew about Germany were the bad things about Germany. So little boy from Alabama, didn't know. So I spent probably the first couple of weeks in my hotel because I was afraid to go outside.
Oh.
So after that, I was like, Todd, you're being silly. You're being silly. Everyone else is going, go.
Well, you had to go to rehearsal.
We had to go to rehearsal, but the great thing about rehearsal was it was attached to the hotel. So literally, I did not have to go outside at all. I was afraid.
Okay, you're allowed to be afraid.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
23, never
Yes.
been anywhere.
Yes.
And then I took a step outside and got a German-English dictionary and started picking up words and started traveling around and meeting people, and people were so generous and willing to help with my German. I mean, it was an incredible year to have after college.
Well, that's such a wonderful experience. It's good that you were scared. And then you faced your fear and you got over it, and it made you probably very brave for the rest of your life. That's a very nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So then what happens after? Lead us through your career.
So then I get back and I did, I think, 7 national tours, a lot of regional theater, tried to get on Broadway, very close several times. It just sort of didn't happen. And that's okay. During that time, I created some incredible relationships with directors and choreographers and producers and things of that nature, assisting incredible creative teams, being an associate, remounting things for other choreographers and directors. And I really learned a lot in that process. And through that, someone asked me to be a resident choreographer for the national tour of Oliver. That was coming over from London. After that, I was asked to be the choreographer of the national tour of Kiss Me Kate. After that, I was asked to be the original choreographer of Memphis before it came to Broadway. Things just kept coming because I kept saying yes. I stopped being afraid of saying yes, and I just said yes. And if it went well, great. If it didn't, I learned from it. And so I just kept going.
Did things always come to you, or were
No.
there moments where you were like praying for the next thing?
No, they didn't always come to me. Things came, I feel, at the right time.
Very nice.
When I was released from Memphis and the original choreography of that really shook me. And so I stepped out of the business for about 2 years.
What'd you do?
I managed a organic restaurant down in Chelsea for 2 years. That's what I did. And about 3 months before the end, I just was like, this is not me.
Okay, but you needed that break.
I needed that break to sort of just reassess. Let that hurt, let that disappointment just sort of be in that for a bit. And really think about, is this something I really want to pursue?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very good advice
Yeah.
for people to understand that. That's why I asked the question. There usually is a point where things just don't keep flowing and a moment of introspection
Yeah.
and understanding what really is important to you. So that was, in retrospect, it was a valuable time.
It's a wonderful time. I got to be with my husband more. We got to plan our lives a bit more without, he was an intern in medical school, so we both were just sort of running everywhere. So that time really allowed us to really come together and really sort of form and solidify our relationship. So that in itself is amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Now, I met Todd through the Ivoryton Playhouse. And I don't know if all our viewers know what the Ivoryton Playhouse is, and I'd like you to share what it is and how you got involved and some of the work you've done there.
Ivoryton Playhouse is in Ivoryton, Connecticut. It's a small regional theater that produces incredible work. It is in a beautiful small town that is picturesque, and when you think New England, that is Ivoryton. They have a very strong community. They have a sense of pride about themselves, and those people who are visitors that come to see their shows are welcomed with generosity and open arms. It's one of the reasons why I am still there. I was brought there by Larry Thielen, who we had worked together several years before I even came there, and he called out of the blue.
Oh, really? Another one?
Well, because I said to him, we had worked on a reading, and I said to him, hey, if you're ever in need of a choreographer, this was in that in-between time, I'd love to. And so 5-6 years later, he calls me and says, hey, I'm doing Dreamgirls at Ivoryton Playhouse. Would you come and be the choreographer? And I was like, absolutely. So that was my sort of beginning there. So my first year there, I did Dreamgirls. My second year there, I did La Cage aux Folles. My third year there, I did Memphis. I got to sort of make peace with Memphis in that moment. And then year after year after year, more and more shows. At that point, we were doing huge shows like Saturday Night Fever and A Chorus Line and Mamma Mia and shows that you think in this small little space.
Yes.
Because
it's a small, but it's a beautiful, charming.
Very charming. I've been there, this is my 12th season, I do believe.
Oh.
And one of the reasons that I still continue to go back is that there is love there. There is support there. It's a home. It's a place that I can go and be myself. We can try new things. We can succeed. We can fail. It is always going to be there for artists who want to try something different. And that is important to me, and that is important to the theater as well. Jackie Hubbard, who is the executive director, who is a mentor of mine, she loves when people come to that theater as actors, as creative teams, and find ways to use that space in a new way. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Let's move on for a minute to, you're award nominated for quite a few. We can't go through all of them in the time we have today, but which award were you most proud of? Would you like to talk about a bit?
I have two, honestly.
We have time for two.
Great. In no sort of special order, when I got my first nomination from the Connecticut Circle, Critics Circle, that was incredible. Because I was nominated against Broadway level people, and that they saw my work was equal to theirs was amazing. I never thought that was going to happen. That was never my goal. But it was a moment I thought, okay, thank you. The second one is the NAACP award for theater choreography that I got for a show, The Princess and the Black-Eyed Pea. We did it in California, and again, and I was nominated with people who had done films, right? And so again, that's that moment of you're in the right place. What you're doing is valid and good, and people are noticing that. And that, again, was an incredible moment. Every time I get an award nomination, it is, for me, if I win, great. If I don't,
Right.
fine. But just someone sees you. It's not about them seeing you, but someone sees you and what you do.
And it's an accomplishment, regardless about the results.
For sure.
It is clearly that accomplishment that
Yeah.
was well deserved,
Yeah.
that strengthens you.
Exactly. Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Thank
Very
you.
good work. Now let's switch a little bit now to your life besides theater.
Yes.
Yes, and a film.
I have 2 beautiful children, a 6-year-old, her name is Odessa, and a 4-year-old, her name is Avril. They're both adopted, and they are magical beings. They are 6 and 4 for sure. But the light and the love, and the fun and the play is, it's so magical. And I am thrilled to be their father.
Oh,
Thrilled to be
They're
their father.
lucky kids.
It's you know, with all parenting, there are challenges and
Of
all of that
course.
wonderful stuff. But it was a great decision my husband and I made. For a very long time, we were not going to have kids at all. And then something just shifted.
What can you share a little bit about what was
I don't know. I mean, I think we had traveled, we had done all of the things when we were younger, and actually a friend of ours, another same-sex couple, adopted a baby, and we drove up to New Hampshire to see them. On our drive up, we just started throwing out names, just sort of like, well, you know, if it blah 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 blah. We got up there. We spent about 4 or 5 days with them. We got to hold the baby and be with the baby and all of that wonderful stuff. And then on the way back, we were driving back. It's a 5-hour drive. We just kept on with the names again. And it got a little bit more deeper into, well, we would use a family's name, blah, blah, blah. And so by the time we got home, my husband is a very type A personality. He had gone on the internet and found an agency. Through that drive, we both thought the other one did not.
interesting?
Strongly enough to say no. If I brought it up, no. And so that is sort of the journey of us adopting. We got Odessa in 2018, and I had said, okay, I'm gonna take off a year because I want to be with her. I didn't quite make it a year. The first thing that I did was I went up to Iverton and worked on the Women's Playwright Initiative and directed a piece there. That was about 5 months. I took her with me, which was great. 5 months, they're, you know, non-mobile, sleeping, all of that wonderful stuff. And then I went to Hilton Head, South Carolina to do a show, Legally Blonde, and that was the first time I had been away from her for an extended amount of time, 4 weeks.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. The first day my drive from where I was staying to the rehearsal studio, cried the entire way.
Oh.
Cried the entire way. It's once we had the second child, it became harder, right? She came in 2020, so she was a COVID baby.
Oh.
And so I had these 2 incredible babies at the same time, which was great. I put them on the same sleep schedule. It was fantastic. But again, I got to be home with them for that period of time.
That was the silver lining of that time.
That was the silver lining
Yes.
of that time, was
Yes.
me able to, again, be with them for that period of time. I started back to work, and, you know, it just sort of, you know, one year I did 8 shows. 8 shows. That was too much. And at that point I said, okay, you don't need to do 8 shows.
I don't think a lot of people need to do 8 shows, right?
Because you're gone. You literally are gone 80% of that year. And then I was like, okay, let's start making changes. Let's find a way that you can do what you want to do, still have your career. But the most important thing are these two individuals here. So let's find the way we can balance between those two things. And so I just started making decisions. We're not doing 8 shows a year. We're only doing 1 long distance show a year. The rest has to be within driving distance, in the city, and that's sort of what I've been starting to work towards.
That sounds, you figured it out.
Well, it's
as much as you can. There's no one ever figures this out.
No,
100%.
Not at all. It's you just every day you just make more decisions.
Right.
Luckily, they're both in school now, so that takes a little bit of the who's going to take care of the kids during the day sort of issues. But we're working it out.
Well, you have your priorities, and things, they get older and things change, and yes. But it's nice to see that you know what you need to do right now.
Yeah. I have an incredible partner, husband, an incredible village who helps us facilitate all of this wonderful stuff so that I can go and do shows. It's amazing. And I know we're very lucky, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I hear that, and I feel that.
For sure, yeah.
So when you look back now, you've done a lot in your career and also your personal life. Yet in your career, like when you look at some of the decisions you made, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of stepping away from the business. It was scary because I didn't know what I was going to do. But I am proud of that. I'm proud that I took a moment to sort of reassess who I was, what I wanted, truly what I wanted, not this sort of aspirational thing that everybody's trying to go for. What did I want? And so that's the best decision. The second best decision is that I feel like it came out braver.
I like that word. I really like that word.
I called a friend and I said, hey, I'm back. If you have any jobs, please consider me. And he said to me, I have a show for you if you want it.
Right then?
Right then. So that, again, helped me, again, to continue to be brave and to continue to trust myself. My creativity changed as well after those 2 years off. Just trust yourself, trust yourself. If it comes into your head, try it. Don't be afraid. Don't think, oh no, somebody's not going to like that, or that's going to be too weird or avant-garde or not enough. Try it.
Would you say you're an intuitive person by nature?
Yes.
Okay. And you trust it?
I do. It's sometimes very, very scary. Like sometimes I'll be prepping a show. I'm prepping a show right now. And I get this thing, I can't wrap my head around it. And I used to be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? They're going to think that I don't know what I'm doing. It comes.
You can't think too much.
You can't think about it.
Sometimes you just do.
Just do, or just let it go. Just let it go. It will come. And it always has.
And it always will.
And it always will.
Now, what are you doing now? What are you focused in on?
Right now I'm prepping for a production of Kiss Me Kate at the Quintessence Theater in Philadelphia. They do incredible work. They do a lot of the classic Shakespeare, Brecht, that Shaw. But once a year they do a musical. And so this year they're doing Kiss Me Kate because of the Shakespeare reference. There's a wonderful new show. It's called The Falling Season, written by Master Ace, who was an incredible rapper in the late 80s. We've been doing readings and workshops of this incredible through-rapped show. Hip-hop at its core, at its finest. It's been such an incredible journey, and we're continuing to work and trying to find ways to sort of open more doors for this piece. It's really a special piece.
And when is that going to be?
I don't know. We're still trying to find producers and people who want to jump on board to this piece.
Okay.
But we're still working. We're still working.
Okay, well,
I
it
believe
seems
in it.
like you're connected to it, for sure.
Very much so.
Well, we have about 30 seconds
Okay.
left.
Yes.
And I would like to know if there's anything that you didn't share with us that you feel would be helpful to people that are thinking about doing the work you've done, or just general advice for individuals in life that you feel you'd like to share.
You can do it. You can do it. It takes work, it takes dedication, it takes knowledge and research and thoughtfulness, but you can do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That we're going to end on that. That was wonderful. Todd, you're an inspiration.
Thank
You're talented. You're thoughtful. And thank you for spending the afternoon with me today.
Thank you so much, Lynn. It's my pleasure.